Hello there techies and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we will take a look at how can we use PnP PowerShell to set the Windows credentials into the Windows Credentials Manager. Now, why we should be using this? When you are writing a script, you would often have to ask for credentials. Many times, the same credentials would be used to connect to different services. So it would be really annoying to keep asking for the credentials from a user, or even if you are the sole person who would be executing a script, you would have to add the credentials, you would have to key in the credentials again and again. You can store the credentials, that's a combination of your username and password, into the Windows Credentials Manager. You can easily use them to connect to any of the SharePoint Online or Office 365 services without asking from a user. So let's see how do we do this. First, let me show you the Windows Credentials Manager. So if you search for Windows Credentials Manager, you would end up on the screen. You can see there are web credentials and the Windows credentials, and we are interested in Windows credentials. You can see there are some credentials already available here. What we want to do is we want to add new credentials here and then able to access it through the PowerShell. So let's go and get started. Very first thing, we will import the module. So the module that we're going to be using is PnP.PowerShell. And the command that we'll be using is add PnP stored credential. Then let's give a name of this credential. So I'm going to connect to, let's say, one of the SharePoint team site called sales. So let me give it a name, SPO sales cred. Okay. Then let's pass the username and a password which will be used to connect. Now in the password, we will be converting to secure string. So first let's get the username entered, and then let's pass on a string which is the actual password. As plain text and with the force. Okay, so let's execute this, and you see the execution is completed. So let's go back to the Windows Credentials Store and let's see this credentials. Let's go to Windows Credentials. There you can see we have PnP PS SPO sales cred. If you open this, you can see the username and the password which is encrypted. So now this credentials is available onto the Windows OS, and we will be able to use these credentials to connect to SharePoint Online or any other Office 365 services. Let's go and use them. Okay, let's comment this out and let's connect to the SharePoint Online. So connect PnP Online URL, and let's connect to one of the site. Okay, and here when providing the credentials, we will just give the name of the credentials. Okay, let's see if this connects or not. And there you see we haven't got any error. So what that means is we are able to successfully connect to the PnP Online using these credentials. Now there is one more trick. If you even do not want to pass on these credentials and still want to connect to PnP Online using this URL, how can we do this? So to do that, what we need to do is this URL, you would have to give it as the name. So what this means is when you specify the URL as a name, and then if you connect to the very same site, you don't have to pass the credentials. It would automatically see that the key having this value is available into the Windows Credentials Manager, and it will try to use the username and password that we have already stored with the same key name, and as a result we would not need to supply the username and password. So let's first add that. Hit run. It is saved. Let's check in the Windows Credential Manager. You can see this is a key and it also has a username and password. So let's just use this. Let's again comment this out. Let's uncomment this, and now let's hit run, and we can see there is no error. We are successfully able to connect to the SharePoint site without passing the credentials, without asking the credentials. So this is how you can actually use the Windows credentials to bypass asking the credentials from a user, or asking the credentials again and again in a script to connect to different Office 365 services. So I hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching.